Is altruism inherently selfish? Yes, I got the idea from that one funny clip, but it is genuinely a really interesting question to ask, mainly due to what it says about us as people. Hello everyone, this is Big&Blue, and in this video I don't hope to actually answer this question. I mean, obviously, a question like this doesn't have a right or wrong answer, because in the end, all you're left with are questions. I hope you enjoy.
And your television is just about to explode.
So, to begin, let's dissect this question in more detail. Firstly, what is altruism? At its core, altruism is the practice of caring about other people's well-being and happiness to an almost selfless degree. In other words, if empathy is the thought of care, then altruism is the action of care. Selfishness is the action of caring of one's own well-being over anyone else's. Now, of course, there are different degrees of selfishness. Some people can be completely self-interested, while some can be empathetic, but just care more about themselves. And then there's the word in between, inherently. In this context, meaning someone cannot be altruistic without also being selfish. As I've said, being selfish is a sliding scale, so this makes this question a bit more tricky. For example, imagine this. You're on a cliff and there's two people dangling on the edge. They are on the verge of letting go, and if they do, they will fall to their deaths. One person is a complete stranger, while the other is your father. In the moment, you realize you only have time to save one. Who do you choose? Well, obviously, most people would choose their father. But is that a selfish act? I mean, it kind of is. Most people would choose their father because they love them, and they wish to see no harm come their way, but also because the mental turmoil of losing their father would far outweigh the one of losing a complete stranger. In this situation, how you feel greatly affects the outcome. Therefore, saving your father would be a selfish act. Okay, now let's say you're in a brand new scenario. Everything is the exact same except for one thing. You hate your father. And for that reason, you go save the stranger. Well, it still is a very selfish act, mainly because your hate for your father has judged him as not worthy of saving. Okay, let's change things up one final time. Let's say that in this new scenario, one person is a very old friend of yours, while the other is a woman you've never seen before, but she is pregnant. Who do you choose? In this scenario, you have an incentive to save both of them. And based on that choice, you will make a personalized judgment call on who to choose, which isn't very selfless. And that's the overlying issue here. Being a selfless person is very easy. You just have to help as many people as you can, regardless of who they are. But being a selfish person, being someone who cares about their own self-preservation, has dimensions. And depending on the situation, I would say that a selfish person could act in a way I think could still be moral. So in that specific context, a selfish person as it connects to altruism really doesn't matter that much. That's all well and good, but when someone asks the question, is altruism inherently selfish? That's not what they mean. When they say selfish, they mean the immoral kind of selfish. And in this context, this question goes in a completely different direction. Not just in how it converges with morality, but also in how it converges with institutions. Case in point, My Hero Academia. Shout out to Alice Ortega who asked for more My Hero Academia dissections. Sorry it can't be a full My Hero video. For now it's just a mini essay within this video, but I still hope you like it. I'm not sure if I will make another My Hero video in the future, because to be completely honest, I've kind of fallen out of love with the series. Don't get me wrong, I still read it, but I just don't have the same passion as I used to. Maybe when the manga wraps up in a few months, I'll make another video, but we'll see. But anyways, back to the video. So, in the My Hero Academia world, the question of is altruism inherently selfish is answered with a resounding yes. Being a crime fighter in the My Hero world is directly tied with fame and capital. When you become a hero, you can establish your own agency. which is basically like being the boss of your own company. And obviously, this venture can be extremely lucrative if you rise through the ranks. And that's not even mentioning all the money you'll be making through advertisements and merchandise, which is a whole other can of worms. Safe to say, being a hero is a really good way of becoming famous as well. Just like we saw in the tournament arc, if you do well enough, a teenager can become an overnight sensation. And just like in real life, this fame is transferable, meaning that you can use your fame to pursue other ventures. Like that one girl in UA who's only there to become a K-pop idol. What's her name? Mushroom Girl? Whatever. Look, what I'm trying to say here is the My Hero world is inherently broken. It facilitates a system in which being a selfless hero is no longer the sole motivator. Now anyone who enters this system is incentivized to focus on their own growth of capital and their fame. But even then, I would argue it's a lot more complex than I'm making it out to be. For example, let's focus on one specific character in My Hero, Ochako. Here's a question. Is Ochako a selfless person? Well, many people would argue that yes, she is. The main reason why Ochako is even at UA is so she can become a really big famous hero and make a lot of money, and then give said money to her poor parents as a form of repayment for the sacrifices they made for her. This on paper seems like a very selfless act, especially when you consider that this means Oraka has other dreams other than being a hero, but she put them aside for her parents. But even then, I would still argue it's not that simple. Regardless of Ochako, the My Hero world still facilitates others to be selfish, and her involvement in this system only helps to perpetuate it. The same can be said about Deku and Bakugo. Deku is objectively a selfless person. In the first episode, he goes out of his way to help Bakugo, someone who has only hurt him his entire life. Speaking of Bakugo, he is the perfect example of what I mean when I say the My Hero world is corrupt. Due to the circumstance of the quirk he was born with and the system he grew up in, Bakugo's ego grew to an unhealthy degree at a very young age. Thinking back to earlier seasons, I don't remember Bakugo ever talking about wanting to save people. It was only ever about being the biggest star or the biggest hero in the world. But to be fair, that was earlier seasons. Now he seems like someone who genuinely wants to be a better person and fight evil. So here we are, with 3 people who I think exemplify selflessness. Okay, 2 of them. The other one is a bit, but you know what I mean. But even then, I would still argue they are the exception and not the rule. And regardless of who they are or their motivation, their participation in this system only helps to create more people who do follow the rule. Compare and contrast this with the Marvel Universe. Most heroes in the Marvel Universe have no additional incentive to be a crime fighter. They just do it for the sake of making the world a better place. There are obvious examples like Spider-Man or Thor, but let's choose a more extreme example, the Punisher. Okay, to make one thing clear, I do not agree with the Punisher. In fact, I kind of disagree with what he stands for as a person, but that's a whole other topic. I should make a Punisher video one day, but whatever. So, is the Punisher a altruistic and selfless person? Well, one thing I think we can all agree on is that he definitely thinks he is. Frank thinks that unlike every other hero, he is actually helping New York by permanently removing the problem. My only problem being his motivation. What made the Punisher was the death of his family. So unlike most heroes who are motivated by hope and optimism, he's motivated by grief and anger. And you can really feel that. As much as Frank may say that he does what he does because he wants to help New York, you can almost tell that he enjoys what he does. As if it's a way for him to get revenge on the world who took away his family. In this specific circumstance, you could argue that he's not even an altruistic person, as what he does is not motivated by helping others, but simply helping his own mental state. Okay, but does this even matter? Regardless of his family, Frank still fights with his own brand of altruism. The true problem here being, is killing criminals actually helping New Yorkers? Moreover, there's the question of, is the Punisher a selfish man who is simply deluding himself on his selflessness? I don't know, and that's kind of the point. I chose the Punisher because unlike anyone else, he really shows the ways in which this question can be stretched out and understood in completely different ways. So, to wrap up, is altruism inherently selfish? I don't know. I mean, you knew that. I told you that from the start. but hopefully this video helped you think of the issue in much more detail. If you have any follow-up questions or suggestions for other videos, just let me know in the comments. Also, if you like this video essay, you might like my other one that goes into more detail in the My Hero world. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you next time. Peace out and thanks for watching.